Feminine soft power, economy, the neuroeconomic force Silicon Valley can't replicate. The coffee had gone cold again, another morning, balancing the noise of the house and the quiet question she kept avoiding. Can I really build something of my own? The algorithms said, hustle harder. The boardrooms said, think bigger. But something in her knew the answer, lived somewhere else entirely. She wasn't chasing millions, just freedom. The kind that fits between nap times and school pickups. The kind that doesn't require proving herself in rooms where she's never felt she belonged. She'd watched the world celebrate disruption and conquest, while the economy she was quietly building looked nothing like that at all. It started small, a conversation that turned into consulting, a skill she'd minimized that someone else desperately needed, a way of listening that made clients feel seen in ways their previous vendors never had. She didn't realize she was doing anything revolutionary. She thought she was just being herself. But the business world had taught her to distrust that instinct. Part of her still felt guilty for wanting more, as if ambition had to disappear when motherhood began. As if building something meaningful required becoming someone harder, louder, more like the men in the room. Maybe success just wasn't meant for someone like her. Then she noticed something strange. Her clients kept coming back. Not because she had the lowest price or the flashiest pitch. They returned because of how they felt when they worked with her. Safe enough to admit what they didn't know. Understood in ways that made them braver. It wasn't a transaction, it was transformation. What would you have done in her place? Leaned into the old model, or trusted what made you different? She started paying attention to the pattern. The businesses thriving in her circle weren't the ones obsessed with scale and speed. They were the ones built on what economists are now calling relational capital, the invisible architecture of trust, emotional intelligence, and sustained care that can't be automated or replicated by AI. According to research from Harvard Business School, businesses led by women showed 23% higher customer retention and 31% stronger community loyalty compared to traditional models. These aren't soft metrics, they're neurological. The human brain releases oxytocin during empathetic exchanges, creating brand attachment that bypasses rational decision-making entirely. Silicon Valley spent decades trying to engineer this chemistry through apps and algorithms. They failed because they were solving for efficiency when customers were hungry for humanity. She smiled not because it was easy, but because it was finally hers. A way of working that didn't require her to split herself in half. Where intuition wasn't a liability but an asset. Where the very things the marketplace told her to hide became her competitive advantage. But the idea didn't come from a business book, it came from the mess on her kitchen table. The way she naturally organized information for her kids became a content framework her clients paid thousands for. The conflict resolution she practiced daily at home translated into mediation services for small business partnerships. The emotional labor she'd been doing for free her entire life suddenly had market value she'd never imagined. This is what they mean by the feminine soft power economy. Not feminine as in gender exclusive, but feminine as in relational, cyclical, intuitive. The economic force that prioritizes connection over conquest, sustainability over extraction, collective thriving over individual dominance. Then came the doubt, the kind that whispers louder than failure. Who was she to charge premium rates? Who was she to say her way of working mattered? The imposter syndrome arrived like clockwork, dressed in every voice that had ever told her to be smaller, quieter, more grateful just to be included. She almost gave up until one message changed everything. A client wrote to say her business had saved their marriage. Not the deliverables she'd provided, but the way she'd held space for their fear and confusion while they navigated a major transition. The ROI they measured wasn't just financial, it was relational, existential. That's when it clicked. She wasn't competing in the traditional economy at all. She was building in a parallel dimension where different rules applied, where scarcity mindset gave way to abundance, where vulnerability wasn't weakness but the very foundation of trust, where slow, sustainable growth outperformed the boom and bust cycles that left everyone exhausted and empty. Neuroscience backs this up in ways that feel almost revolutionary. Studies show that women's brains have stronger connections between the left and right hemispheres, creating enhanced capacity for intuitive decision-making and emotional pattern recognition. These aren't stereotypes, they're measurable structural differences that translate into specific economic advantages. But here's what nobody tells you. Leveraging these strengths requires unlearning almost everything traditional business culture taught us. It means trusting the quiet knowing over the loud certainty, valuing depth over speed, choosing collaboration even when competition seems faster. Her workspace was still her kitchen counter, but it no longer felt like chaos. It felt like possibility. Between the breakfast dishes and homework folders lived a business generating 6 figures annually, built entirely on referrals and word of mouth. No aggressive marketing. No manufactured urgency. Just consistent excellence and genuine care, compounding over time. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress, it looks like staying. Staying present when the world rewards constant motion. Staying soft when everything demands hardness. Staying relational in an economy designed for transactional speed, she discovered that other women were building the same way, often in isolation, thinking they were the only ones doing business differently. Solo consultants creating intimate group programs. Coaches prioritizing client transformation over course completion rates. Service providers building waitlists through care rather than conversion funnels. These weren't outliers, they were the leading edge of an economic paradigm shift. McKinsey research indicates that relationship-driven businesses now comprise 43% of the service economy, growing faster than any other sector. The invisible economy of care, once dismissed as unmarketable, is now outperforming traditional models in retention, referrals, and revenue stability. But the resistance remains powerful. Every time she raised her rates, the old voices returned. Every time she set a boundary, someone suggested she wasn't serious about success. The conditioning runs deep, the belief that business must be hard, masculine, aggressive to be legitimate. What helped her most wasn't just a tool or framework, it was realizing she didn't need permission to start small. She tested different approaches before finding what truly worked. And honestly, it changed everything. Not because any single resource was magic, but because she finally gave herself permission to build in her own image. The feminine soft power economy isn't about excluding anyone. It's about including the parts of ourselves and our work that traditional capitalism tried to eliminate. The care, the intuition, the long-term thinking, the recognition that humans aren't resources to be optimized, but complex beings, seeking connection and meaning. She learned that pricing her work appropriately wasn't selfish, it was structural. Undercharging doesn't just hurt individual practitioners, it devalues the entire relational economy, reinforcing the belief that emotional labor should be free and feminine energy has no market worth. When she finally set rates that reflected her true value, something unexpected happened. Her ideal clients found her more easily. The people who needed exactly what she offered could finally recognize themselves in her positioning. The ones who wanted discount transactions self-selected out, leaving space for relationships that could go deep. This is the paradox nobody warns you about. The more you try to appeal to everyone, the less you connect with anyone. The more you try to fit traditional molds, the less distinctive you become. Your difference isn't a liability to overcome, it's the very thing that makes you irreplaceable. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional for any questions related to finance, business, or investments. The shift didn't happen overnight. It happened in 1,000 small choices to trust herself over conventional wisdom, to value her energy as much as her time, to recognize that rest isn't the opposite of productivity but its foundation, that boundaries aren't barriers but the containers that let real intimacy and excellence flourish. She started teaching other women what she'd learned, not through aggressive launches or manipulative marketing, but through quiet conversations that turned into communities, through sharing her real numbers, her real struggles, her real decision-making process, transparency as strategy, vulnerability as strength. The women who found her were hungry for permission they didn't know they needed, permission to build businesses that felt good, not just looked good on paper, permission to prioritize presence over productivity theater, permission to succeed without sacrificing the very qualities that made them effective in the first place. This is what they're missing when they talk about closing the gender wealth gap. It's not just about giving women access to the same broken systems. It's about recognizing that women are already building a different economy entirely, one that prioritizes sustainability over extraction, relationships over transactions, collective well-being over individual conquest. When she poured her coffee the next morning, it was still hot, because this time, she wasn't rushing. She was building something that would outlast any algorithm change or market trend, building on the foundation of human connection, which remains the only truly scarce resource in an automated world. The feminine soft power economy isn't coming. It's already here, growing in kitchens and coffee shops and converted bedrooms around the world. It's in every business built on referrals instead of ads, every consulting practice that prioritizes client outcomes over course sales, every service that succeeds through care rather than conquest. You might already be part of it without realizing. Every time you choose depth over speed, every time you prioritize relationships over transactions, every time you trust your intuition over someone else's formula, you're not behind, you're exactly where you need to be. Tell us what part of this story resonated with you most and where you're watching from. Your journey might just inspire the next one. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.